Hello, welcome back to our stress management seminar. Today we're going to talk about the relationship that we have between chronic stress and movement. First, you know how when you come back from work and you are extremely tired that all you want to do is sit down and disconnect from the world? Or you've been dealing with children all day, or you also could be worrying about retirement. How are you going to make it without your regular paycheck? All these chronic stress that we experience affects our body. In order to understand how it affects our system, let's review a little bit how energy is created, because energy is the foundation for movement. We have talked in our other previous classes how energy is created by eating and also through the sun. But now we're going to learn that there is a third way of creating energy. First, let's review how energy is created when we eat something. When we eat food, our system breaks the food down to a smallest molecule, which we call glucose. Then eventually that glucose is processed and turned into energy, and that is called glycolysis or glycolysis. This happens in our cells, inside our cells. But inside our cells, there is a tiny little organ called mitochondria. So part of the glycolysis happens inside the cell, but the last process, the creation of energy, happens mostly inside the mitochondria. As we can see in this graph, glucose can produce energy two ways. It starts the glycolysis process, and then once that happens, energy is created either with oxygen or without oxygen. So one of the two cascades happens. Most of the time we create energy through oxygen, and that's why we create 36 units of energy. But sometimes without oxygen, when that cascade is needed, then as you can see, you also produce lactic acid, and you produce only 2 units of energy. So there's a huge difference from which cascade is used, and that is all decided within the cell. As I mentioned, the energy is created inside the mitochondria. And a very interesting process happens there that I'm going to try to simplify it. What the mitochondria does is that it sends a lot of molecules of hydrogen outside its membrane, and they accumulate and accumulate and accumulate so much that it creates a potential of energy enough that then uses a little pump that brings that hydrogen back inside the cell. And when that happens, that's when the energy is created. That's when ATP is created. So, and that is repeated over and over and over again every time there is a demand of energy. But what happens when there is no demand of energy is that all those hydrogens that are being sent outside the membrane of the cell, then they cannot go back inside the cell through the regular pump channel to create energy. So they end up, because there's so much potential there, they end up coming back inside through other ways, and that creates that the hydrogen unifies with oxygens. It links with oxygens and creates superoxides, and those damage the mitochondria. And so our mitochondria start dying slowly if there is no demand of energy. Therefore, if I sit all day at work and then I'm so tired because I've been working all day, and then all I want to do is sit down at home because I'm tired, we create this negative cycle. No demand of energy, less creation of energy by the mitochondria, more creation of superoxide, and more destruction of mitochondria. Less mitochondria, less energy, less movement, less demand. And so our body slowly starts creating less energy, and that's why we feel so tired. There is another reason that we feel tired also when we're overstressed. Science has been discovering that yes, mitochondria creates energy, but there is another bigger role that they discover in mitochondria. When the mitochondria perceives danger, whether through stress or an illness, the mitochondria stops producing energy and uses its resources to help the cell with the defense that is needed to protect itself against an enemy. And they turn our cells into defense mode. They discovered that you either create energy or defend the body, but the mitochondria cannot do both. That is why when we are sick, we feel so tired, because our mitochondria, instead of creating energy, what it does is focusing on helping ourselves prepare to attack the enemy. And our body needs to rest in order to help itself heal. When our body is being attacked, whether acute or chronic stress or because of an illness, and our mitochondria is busy helping our cells defend our bodies, then it needs to create energy in an alternative route, the route that does not use oxygen. And remember, as we saw the graph, that's why it was so important that you guys remember these things, is that now is using fermentation to create energy. And when fermentation happens, we create more lactic acid and we create more inflammation, and the lactic acid in our muscles then produces pain. So we're increasing the pain, the lactic acid, we're creating more inflammation, then we're more tired, more inflammation, more pain, and therefore we create another negative cascade of processes that will reduce our energy and increase our level of stress. They're finding that sitting more than 6 hours a day creates as much damage as if you were smoking. And unfortunately, our children are also experiencing a similar thing. When they're at school, they spend countless hours sitting, and they do play, but then when they come home, they also spend a lot of time sitting. There was a study done at Charleston Progressive Academy that they created a program where the children exercised before they started school. They allowed them to free play and created active games for them for 40 minutes before they started school. And what they discovered was that there was a 65 to 80% decline of discipline problems. They increased their overall grade scores. They were more focused in class. And if they took a test right after exercises, their scores did even better. The movement that I'm talking about is just gentle movement throughout the day. That is enough to keep our mitochondria going throughout the day so it doesn't create the superoxides that we mentioned before. And like right now, I'm standing, I'm moving my hands, I'm moving my feet. And this is gentle movement. Washing the dishes, doing the laundry, vacuuming, gentle moves that we can do throughout the day. Just by standing up, you can increase your energy by 20% and your muscle activity by 200%. As we mentioned before, if you have a desk job, you can get up every hour, or now that you understand the importance of movement, you can get up every 30 minutes or just raise your computer. I put mine on my counter and I do some of my work standing, and so when I get tired then I sit down, but I try to spend as much time as possible standing in front of my computer and move our legs, stretch our arms. All those movements help our system, help our mitochondria to stay engaged and continue creating energy throughout the day. In this slide, I'm showing you the prefrontal cortex And also I want you to see where the hippocampus is. In the prefrontal cortex, that's where the decision making happens. That's how you can stay focused and pay attention in meetings, and that's where you can reason and make decisions. But in the temporal side of our lobe, that's where you can find the hippocampus. And right there is where we retain the long-term memories. And so what happens is our brain is like a computer. Sometimes it uses the area of the hippocampus to give information to the prefrontal lobe to make decisions. What happens when I'm very stressed out because I have an overdue project and I had to turn it in the morning, I'm still working on it, but I find myself that I can't concentrate anymore. I've been 6 hours working non-stop. I'm hungry, I have a headache, I'm very anxious about it, and I'm very tired, can't focus, can't concentrate. Now you can understand how our body functions. In the same way our cells in the rest of our body produce energy, also the cells in our neurons in our brain, they also need energy in order to function. And when we're stressed out, we're sending the wrong message to our system. Remember, the cell can either create energy and help us function, or it goes in defense mode and it stops creating energy. We need to pay attention to what type of message we're sending to our brain, to our cells. Am I sending the stress message, or am I sending, we got this, we're gonna work together and we'll figure out a way to work through this problem? What if every 30 minutes you will stand up and stretch and you move your muscles, your bigger muscles, lift your legs, move your arms, create circulation, create a demand of energy again, so your body can provide you with a constant stream of energy, so you could have energy to finish your project. I want to mention this study from Dr. Elizabeth Gold from the University of Princeton. She studied about neurogenesis, and she did an amazing discovery. In 1999, she discovered that nothing helps make new cells than just a regular walk, movement. This new health creation is called neurogenesis, meaning it happens in our brain. Remember the hippocampus that I just mentioned before? The hippocampus creates new cells, and these cells contain GABA, which is a neurotransmitter. And this helps decrease the levels of stress that we have in our body. Do you see the difference in the color on the both pictures? That one doesn't have any red, and then the second one has a lot more red and yellow, and the area became bigger. And that is just after a 20-minute walk. Creates increased activity on the brain cells. Another study at the University of Duke in 1999, they took a group of 100 people. They were sedentary and they were suffering from depression. So they divided them in 3 groups. One, they gave them a treatment of Zoloft, which is an antidepressive medication. Another group did just walk alone, exercise, just walking alone. And another group did both, did Zoloft with the walking, with the exercise. The exercise was only 3 times a week. And at the end of the trial, they discovered that the 3 groups did the same improvements. The people that just did exercise had the same improvement than the people that took the antidepressives. What science is discovering is that exercise increases our neurotransmitters, also increases our oxytocin, which is the love hormone that we talked about on our first class, and our feel-good hormones. walking is one of the most transformative things that we can do in order to help our brain diminish the damage of stress. It increases the dopamine, serotonin, and norepinephrine. These neurotransmitters help us feel better, but also it shifts and focuses our attention for at least 2 hours after we exercise. It also has been documented that increases the volume of our hippocampus. All these things together help us improve our mood. Another study that was done on people that were depressed, that part of the group was treated with psychotherapy and another part of the group was treated with walking, exercise. And after 6 months of these different therapies, they discovered that both groups had the same improvement. Therefore, physical activity can relieve depression and anxiety and help us improve our mood and our cognitive function. We could have a sharper mental acuity, we could focus better, have better attention, and may even reduce the risk of developing depression overall. This other study that I'm going to mention to you is one of my favorites. It was done by Dr. Elia J. Crum from the University of Harvard. They took a group of 84 hotel housekeepers. They asked them, "Do you exercise?" And three quarters of them answered, "No, we don't." And they just measure their blood pressure, and half of them, they send them back to work without any explanation. The other group, they sat them down for a little training on mindset, and they explained to them that what they were doing, it was actually exercise. All the movement that they were doing throughout the day, it will count as exercise. And the making the beds, cleaning the bathrooms, sweeping, using the vacuum, all that will count as exercise. What happened at the end of the study, after only 4 weeks, they discovered that the ladies that had the new mindset, that the activity that they were doing was exercise, had a drop of weight, mostly fat mass, and they also dropped the blood pressure. Versus the other group that didn't receive the explanation, they didn't have any improvements in blood pressure and they didn't lose any fat. I want to mention this tiny little molecule to you. It's called nitric oxide. In 1992, the American Association for the Advancements of Science proclaimed it the molecule of the year because it was so important when they discovered what it does. They discovered that when it's released by the inner layer of cells, or what we call the endothelium of the blood cells, nitric oxide relaxes the vessels and keeps them flexible, allowing them to dilate, boosting blood flow and helping the control of blood pressure. Also, it's involved with the mitochondria respiration, which is the production of energy of the mitochondria. All we have to do to activate this nitric oxide is to do a little bit of exercise, at least for 4 minutes. 4 minutes of movement will trigger this little molecule that has tremendous benefits for our health. Let's talk about some strategies that we could do to help us stay moving throughout the day. If you're a very sedentary person that happens to sit by your desk all day long, these are some of the strategies that could help you. There's desks that you can rise up and you can stand up while you work. You can sit in those balls that will help you engage your core. You can stretch as you're working in your computer, but you also can do activity throughout the house. Somehow we think that because we work so hard during the week, that the weekend is for resting. And resting for us means laying in the couch, watching TV, or playing in our computers. But what our body needs the most is movement. Our body doesn't need sitting, it needs to move in order to create more energy. And remember, the more we sit, the less energy we create and the more tired we're going to feel. So in order for us to create energy so we could feel energized, we need to move. And at the beginning, it's going to be very, very hard. I agree with that. It's like when you come out of a cold and you've been very tired in bed for a week, and then suddenly you start moving, you're so tired. Just going a block from the house is very tiring. But you notice that the more you walk, the more energized you're gonna feel. So you have to fight against this tiredness and you just have to move. But the beauty of this is that once you start moving, once you fight this tiredness and you at least engage in a little bit of movement, you're going to start creating energy and you're going to feel re-energized, and you want to walk a little longer and walk a little more. And you're going to see that every day you walk, you're going to be able to walk a little longer. And every day you move in your desk, you're going to be able to stay standing longer. You're going to be able to move longer. If you're sedentary and not used to walking, do at least 5 minutes. Go half a block and come back, and that will be sufficient for the first time. And the next day you increase to 10 minutes, and the next day you increase to 15 minutes, and next time you do it, you increase it, or you just increase it for 1 minute at a time. You will decide the pace on what you can tolerate and how much you could be increasing. But the key is to keep moving, to move more, to create more energy, to create more neurotransmitters so we can prevent falling into depression. We can reduce the anxiety in our bodies. We could reduce the stress in our bodies. We could trigger our mitochondria to get out of defense mode and go into energy creating mode. That way we're going to be healing our body a little bit at a time. Here are some activity guidelines by the American College of Sport Medicine and American Heart Association. They recommend that we do intense activity 30 minutes per day, 5 days a week, or vigorous intense activity 20 minutes per day, 3 days a week. And to that, we could add a little bit of strength training or exercise. This is done only when you already have energy and you recover from your sedentary lifestyle and the damage that stress had done in your body. Please do not start an intensive activity program without first creating energy in your body. Once your body is full of energy, because you created it through movement and through eating well and through being in the sun, then you can move on with these recommendations. What can we do to help us stay active? First of all, find something that you find joy in doing. For me, one of the things that brought me the most joy was to go to the mountains and hike with my dog Rex. You can, if you have a dog, they need to be walked. So find a place that you enjoy going for walks with your pets. If you don't have a pet, then you can also find a friend that likes to do the same things you're doing. If you like to go hiking, or if you like to go to the beach, or if you like to go to the Descanso garden, for example, all those are activities that could be done with a friend that will add variety to your active lifestyle, that you can ease into it slowly, and that it will improve your mental health. And that way you can enjoy life, improve your health, and you can do it slowly to a level that you feel comfortable and full of energy. If you have any health problems, please consult with your physician before you start any activity. How about we combine some of the strategies that we've been learning throughout the different classes? We need sun in the morning. So how about we go for a walk in the morning? We're bathing ourselves with a little bit of sunshine. We're sending the correct signals to our brain that it's daytime, so the correct hormones go down and the cortisol goes up a little bit to help us with blood pressure and our daily activity of the day. So as we create energy with the sun and with movement, then we'll start with a good foundation for our day. Also, we're increasing our neurotransmitters that will help us stay in a good mood throughout the day, and it will help us stay calm, be more efficient. Remember that we can exercise only up to 4 hours of going to bed. If I want to have a restful night, if I work out an hour before I want to go to bed, I'll be full of energy, ready to start a day. So that's not what we want. We can only exercise up to 4 hours before going to bed because our body needs to have the energy boost, and then it needs to start coming down to relax, so it's time to go to sleep. I hope that all these strategies about movement will help you feel energized throughout the day, that will help you diminish all the damage that stress has created in your body, and also help you create a new stress response, that you can have more vitality and you can increase your health every week. Have a week full of movement and energy, and hopefully I'll see you again next class.